All right, so you know how Indian politics can sometimes be like a big dramatic TV show?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sometimes it feels like you're watching a political thriller unfold in real time.
Exactly. And right now we've got this this war of words happening between two really big names.
Yeah.
MK Stalin, the chief minister of Tamil Nadu,
Right.
and Yogi Adityanath, the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh. It's getting a lot of attention, and it's really interesting to kind of uh peel back the layers and see what's actually going on.
Absolutely. It's more than just your typical political back and forth. There's some really deep stuff going on here.
Yeah, so to kind of set the stage, Yogi Adityanath basically accused MK Stalin of stirring up trouble, creating divisions based on region and language.
Yeah, those are some pretty serious accusations, right?
Yeah.
Especially coming from, someone in his position.
Yeah, exactly. And Stalin didn't just let it slide.
No. He fired back pretty hard.
He did. He called Yogi's comments political black comedy at its darkest, which is like,
Ooh, that's a good one.
yeah, it's a pretty strong statement, right? When you think about who these two guys are and like the whole history
It's
involved.
definitely not pulling any punches.
No, it's not. So there's this like layer of irony to Stalin's response that I think is worth pointing out. He's basically saying like, look who's talking. Yogi Adityanath is from a state that hasn't always been known for its social harmony, let's just say.
Right.
And he's accusing Tamil Nadu, a state with this long history of fighting for social justice and equality, of being divisive. It's kind of like if someone who eats tons of junk food all the time suddenly started lecturing you about healthy eating.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy.
Right, you'd be like, oh, okay, buddy.
Exactly. It's like the pot calling the kettle black.
And Stalin actually used a similar analogy. He talked about someone who eats butter naan and ghee all the time giving lectures on diet. It just highlights the hypocrisy.
It does, and it makes it really relatable.
Mm.
Everyone can understand that kind of comparison.
Yeah, so beyond the immediate drama of this back and forth, this whole thing is bringing to light some really big issues that have been simmering in Indian politics for a long time. The first one is Tamil Nadu's opposition to what they see as Hindi imposition. The whole debate about the three-language policy.
Right. That's been a major point of contention for decades.
Yeah, and the second issue is the upcoming delimitation exercise, which is causing a lot of anxiety, especially in southern states.
Huh. Those are the two main things we're going to kind of dig into today, the language issue and the delimitation issue.
Exactly. And it's really important to understand where Tamil Nadu is coming from on the language thing. It's not that they hate Hindi or anything.
Oh, yeah, it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah, Stalin has made it clear that they're against language imposition. They don't want Hindi forced on them. They see it as a form of linguistic chauvinism, one language trying to dominate all the others.
Which you can understand given India's incredible diversity.
Right, exactly. They want to protect their own language and culture. They don't want Hindi shoved down their throats, as Stalin put it.
That's a pretty powerful image.
Yeah, it really captures the feeling of being pressured and not having control over your own identity.
It's about preserving their cultural DNA, their unique heritage.
Exactly. Now, the delimitation issue is a bit more complicated. So delimitation is basically redrawing the boundaries of electoral constituencies to match changes in population.
Right. It happens periodically to make sure representation is fair.
But here's where it gets tricky for Tamil Nadu. They've actually been very successful in controlling their population growth, through various programs and initiatives.
And they're worried that this success might actually hurt them.
Exactly. They're concerned that they'll lose parliamentary seats because their population hasn't grown as much as other states, even though they've been doing what the government has been asking them to do.
So it's like they're being punished or being responsible.
Right. It's like, imagine you study really hard for an exam, you get an A+, and then the teacher says, oh, but some other students didn't do as well, so we're going to give them extra marks and you get fewer.
That would be incredibly frustrating.
Totally. And that's how Tamil Nadu feels about this. So Stalin used that exact analogy. He said it's like being penalized for acing the exam.
It raises a really important question about fairness and how we incentivize responsible governance.
Absolutely. Now, let's try to see things from Yogi Adityanath's point of view. He's basically saying he doesn't understand why Tamil Nadu is making such a big deal out of Hindi.
Right. He seems genuinely confused.
Yeah, his argument is that Tamil is a beautiful ancient language like Sanskrit. It's respected all over India. So why all this hostility towards Hindi?
And that's where I think it's important to reiterate that Tamil Nadu's issue isn't with Hindi itself. It's about the perceived imposition and preferential treatment.
Right. It's like if you go to a South Indian wedding and they're serving paneer butter masala as the main dish. It's not that paneer butter masala is bad.
Yeah, it's a great dish.
But it's just like not what you'd expect at a South Indian wedding, right? It feels out of place.
Exactly. It's about context and respecting different cultural norms.
Yeah. And that's how some people in Tamil Nadu feel about Hindi. It's fine as one of India's many languages, but they don't want it dominating everything.
It's about maintaining a balance.
Right. So, of course, we also have to consider the political motivations here. Yogi Adityanath basically accused Stalin of using this whole language issue to get more votes.
Which is a pretty standard political tactic, to be fair.
Yeah, appealing to regional and linguistic pride is a very effective way to rally your base.
Especially in a state like Tamil Nadu, which has such a strong sense of identity.
But Stalin argues that this goes way beyond politics for him. It's about dignity and justice.
He's connecting it to a much deeper historical struggle.
Exactly. He's saying this isn't some new thing he just made up. It's rooted in decades of fighting for Tamil language and culture.
And that gives his argument a lot of weight.
Yeah, it shows that it's not just about winning an election, it's about something much bigger.
It's about their very identity.
Now, one thing that I find really interesting is that the central government has been pretty quiet about all this, especially the delimitation issue.
That's a good point. Their silence is very telling.
Right. Stalin's group, the Joint Action Committee, they've been very vocal about their concerns. They've basically pleaded with the government not to punish states that have controlled their population.
And yet, no real response.
It makes you wonder what they're thinking.
It could be that they're still figuring out their position, or maybe they just don't see it as a priority.
Either way, it's not very reassuring for states like Tamil Nadu.
It definitely adds to the feeling that they're not being heard.
So I guess the big question is who's winning this battle of ideas between Stalin and Yogi?
It's tough to say there's no clear winner, really. It depends on your perspective.
Right. If you prioritize federalism and linguistic autonomy, then Stalin's arguments probably resonate with you.
But if you're more in favor of a strong central government and you see Hindi as a unifying force, then maybe you agree with Yogi.
It's really up to each individual to decide what they value most.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong answer here.
But one thing is for sure, this whole debate isn't going away anytime soon.
Especially with elections coming up.
Yeah, Tamil Nadu has a long history of standing up for its language and culture. They're not going to back down easily.
It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Absolutely. And it really makes you think about the bigger picture. You know, what does it mean to be Indian in a country with so much diversity? How do we balance unity and difference?
Those are questions that India's been grappling with for a long time.
And they're not easy questions to answer, but they're definitely worth thinking about.
Absolutely. They're at the heart of what it means to be a diverse and democratic nation.
So yeah, I think we've given everyone a lot to chew on today. This is definitely a story to keep an eye on.
It's going to be fascinating to see what happens next.
All right, well, thanks for joining me for another deep dive.
Anytime, it's always a pleasure.
Until next time, keep asking those tough questions and keep exploring the complexities of our world.
And don't be afraid to embrace the messiness of it all.
Exactly. That's where the real learning happens.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, we'll see you next time.
See you later.